Have you ever heard the term state and nation used interchangeably and wondered if they mean the same thing? While these terms are related, they actually have different meanings. In this reading, we'll define and explore the similarities and differences between the two concepts. Let's start with the term state. A state is a political entity with sovereignty over a defined territory. Sovereignty means that the state has the ultimate authority within its borders and can make and enforce laws, regulate commerce, and conduct diplomacy. Examples of states include the United States, France, and China. On the other hand, a nation refers to a group of people who share a common culture, history, language, or ethnicity. This group of people may or may not have their own sovereign state. Examples of nations without their own state include the Kurdish people, who are spread across Turkey, Iraq, Iran, and Syria, and the Roma people, who have no country to call their own. Now, you might be wondering how state and nation are related. It's important to note that while not all nations have their own state, many do. When a nation has its own sovereign state, we call it a nation-state. For example, Japan is a nation-state because it has a defined territory and a population that is largely ethnically Japanese. However, it's also possible for a state to contain multiple nations. For example, the United States is home to many different ethnic and cultural groups, including African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans. While the United States is a state, it is not a nation-state because it does not have a singular cultural identity. So, what are some of the key differences between state and nation? While a state has sovereignty over a defined territory, a nation does not necessarily have its own state or political authority. Additionally, a state's legitimacy comes from its ability to make and enforce laws, while a nation's legitimacy comes from its shared cultural identity. Despite these differences, there are also some commonalities between state and nation. For example, both concepts involve a group of people who are organized in some way. Additionally, both state and nation can provide a sense of identity and belonging for their members. In conclusion, while state and nation are related concepts, they have different meanings. A state is a political entity with sovereignty over a defined territory, while a nation refers to a group of people who share a common culture, history, language, or ethnicity. While a nation can have its own state, it's not a requirement. Understanding these concepts is important for understanding the complex ways in which human societies organize themselves.